Hello, today I'm going to be ranking all of the movies that I watched in 2023. That includes movies that came out in 2023 as well as older movies that I watched for the first time this year or even rewatched. So this just gives me a chance to talk about all the movies that I watched over the past year, reflect on everything, see which ones came out on top or which ones were disappointments. So I have it split into 5 tiers. I have the top one, Changed My Life. These are only the best ones. They have to be life-changing. They have to have an emotional impact on me. They have to be memorable. Then the second tier is Yes, Please. Those are ones that I liked, but they're not good enough that they changed my life. And then this middle category is mid. They were just average, meh, probably unforgettable. I think I'm kind of a harsh ranker or rater because even when things are mid or average, I still kind of have a bad memory of them because they were just completely forgettable to me. So these are the top 2 ones are pretty much the only good categories for me, but mid just means they were okay, nothing too exciting. And then the next one is Breathes a Sigh of Disgust. These are just ones that I didn't like. They were bad, in my opinion. I guess that's something to say right now too, is this is going to be full of my opinion. I'm not really going to sugarcoat things because this is all just me talking freely about my thoughts, my memories of the films I watched. So yeah, so this category is bad. And then this one, delete this from my memory, ASAP, are just ones that were so bad. I can't even put words to explain how bad they were. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything, and I'm just gonna get into it. Okay, so first I'm gonna start out with the 2023 releases that I watched last year. I didn't watch that many, surprisingly. There weren't too many that interested me, I don't think. So anyway, so let's start with the first one, which is Megan. Okay, so Megan I'm putting in mid. That one I had really high hopes for, but it wasn't as campy as I wanted it to be or that I thought it was going to be. And it did have those moments, but it wasn't anywhere near as interesting as I wanted it to be. But it was fine overall. Next is this documentary about Milli Vanilli that I watched. I'm going to put that in Yes, Please. This was on Paramount Plus, I think. But it was a really interesting documentary just about the whole controversy of Milli Vanilli. I think it just covers the whole story and journey really well. It's kind of hard, I think, at least for me, it's hard for documentaries to be bad. So yeah, this one was fun and enjoyable. Next is Elemental. This one I think I'm going to put in Yes, Please. I'll put it before Milli Vanilli. I'm going to rank them in all of the rows, but I'm also going to rank them within each row. So the best ones will be at the top and then the worst ones will be at the bottom of each row, if that makes sense. So anyway, so back to Elemental. This was the new Pixar movie that came out. I really liked the animation style. I really liked the story and kind of the themes that it was touching on. And it surprisingly had a really cute love story in it. One of the best ones that I saw this year, actually, surprisingly coming from a cartoon. But yeah, I liked it. Next is The Hunger Games, the new Hunger Games, the prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I'm going to put that in Yes, Please. It wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be. I read the book specifically leading up for this. I'm a big Hunger Games fan. But overall, it was really good. I think the story is just so good, I can't stay away from it. It definitely had its problems, but I just love being back in that world so much. And it felt like such an epic, immersive world that I feel like we don't see very often anymore. So I still liked it. It was memorable. And it had musical moments in too. So, of course, as a musical fan, I'm gonna like that. Okay, next is Missing. This one was mid for me. It was okay. a lot of my opinions are definitely shaped by what everyone else is thinking. So if everyone is saying that it's so good and then it ends up being not as good, then that obviously messes with my expectations because I thought it was going to be so good, which was the case here. Because I remember it getting kind of overwhelmingly positive reviews, and it was totally fine, but it wasn't really anything groundbreaking to me. It was very, very meh to me, but still fine. Next is Nyad, which is on Netflix. This one I'm going to put in yes, please. That one was good. Again, it wasn't really anything too life-changing. It's kind of just a sports biopic based on a true story, inspirational. I love a lot of things that are focused on older characters, older women, because very often they're relegated to their stereotypical role that they're supposed to be. So I like things like this and, Grace and Frankie, stuff like that kind of challenge those stereotypes. So I love being able to shine the spotlight on these older women, the actresses, but also the people behind the story. And I love Jodie Foster, so loved that. But it wasn't anything too special, but it was fun and it was cute and inspirational. So I'm putting that in this tier. Okay, I just rearranged a few within the row because I was forgetting to do that. Okay, so moving on. Next is The Killer. This is, I think his name's David Lynch. I don't know why I'm blanking on it. It's his latest film that's on Netflix. This was terrible. This was so bad. Again, this is one where everyone is saying it's so good, but I really don't get the hype at all. This was terrible. It was so slow. I didn't get the point. I didn't get anything new or memorable about it. So just terrible. I hated every minute of this. I acknowledge it's not really like a genre that I gravitate towards, but I gave it a chance and it was so boring. Okay, so next is No Hard Feelings. I'm going to put that one in yes, please. I'll probably put it up here. Maybe before Elemental, yeah. I think it goes up at the top so far. I thought it was so cute. I thought it was really funny, actually. I love Jennifer Lawrence. I love Andrew Barth Feldman. I love that he had a chance to sing in it. I loved the beachy vibes. I just thought it was really cute. So goes in that row. Next is Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to put that in mid. I think it had its funny moments, but it was very average to me. Nothing really stood out. The cast is good. I like a lot of those people, but the story just didn't really pull me in very well. And I like the fantasy genre too, like Lord of the Rings, stuff like that, but this one just, I don't know, it felt kind of fake or manufactured or something. I don't know, something about it just didn't really pull me in, but it was okay overall. Next is Theater Camp. That one's going to change my life. I'm kind of biased because I'm a musical theater person, so I was the exact target audience for this, but I loved it. The music was good. Campus at Home changed my life. I love Ben Platt. This one was really funny too, which I wasn't really expecting. I was in for the whole story the whole time. I thought it was really fun. I loved all the characters. I loved the kind of documentary style of it. Yeah, there was just so much that I loved about this one. Next is Saltburn. This one I've talked about a few times already. That one's going and changed my life also. It definitely had its problems, so I'm going to put it after Theater Camp. It's definitely not as tight, not as polished. There's a lot of huge issues I have with it, but it was really weird, which I love. The visuals were just stunning. They were so beautiful. It had a cast that I loved: Jacob Elordi, Barry Keoghan, Rosamund Pike, Carey Mulligan. The setting was beautiful. There was just so much about this aesthetically. The music also was really good. that's something that's overlooked a lot. And I'm not talking about the Murder on the Dance Floor, which is also really good, but I'm talking about the orchestrations behind it. And this one was one of the rare movies that actually made me feel something deeper. So, yeah, I just loved it. Okay, next is Beau Was Afraid. That's another one. Delete this from my memory as soon as possible. This was probably the biggest disappointment of the year for me. I'm a big Ari Aster fan. Love his first two movies. Beau Was Afraid is probably one of my most hyped movies of the year, and it was such a letdown. This was another one I think that divided people a lot. People love it or they hate it, but this one was just so slow. It also was very weird, so I'm kind of rethinking this. I'm like, why didn't I like this one? Because I like weird movies, but something about this one just did not do it for me. And I love the cast in this one too. I love Joaquin Phoenix, Patti LuPone, Nathan Lane. It was too long. That was one thing for sure. Way too long. I didn't really get what all of the different phases were that was happening. The tone seemed weird and all over the place to me. And it was just confusing. I hate things that feel too pretentious. And this was definitely veering towards that a little bit. So that was unfortunate for the year. The next one is The Boys in the Boat. This one I'm going to put in Yes Please. Probably towards the end. It's very similar to Nyad, where it's just a sports biopic based on a true story. Inspirational. I did a full video review on that if you're interested in that one. But it was pretty, it wasn't completely polished, but it was pretty good. It was interesting to look at. The story was interesting, kept me entertained the whole time. I do think it's a little bit forgettable, but overall I liked it. Next is May December, which is on Netflix. It's one of the recent Netflix releases, and this one I'm gonna put in mid. I will put it above probably all these ones though. That one is another disappointment because everyone has been freaking out about this one. Everyone's been saying it's so good, and I don't really get the hype. I think the performances were good. I like the cast also, but nothing really stood out too much for me. I think the characters are really interesting. I think the tone was really weird, and I know there's been some discussions about that online about whether it's a comedy and that kind of thing, and that was something that I noticed that I couldn't stop thinking about. I just didn't know what it was trying to make me feel. So yeah, this one was just very mid for me. Next is Poor Things. I'm gonna put that in Changed My Life at the top. This is Yorgos Lanthimos' new movie with Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo and Willem Dafoe. Again, it's a cast. I love them all. But this one was, again, like I said, one of my most anticipated movies. It just, from the trailer, you could tell it just looked so weird. And it was weird, and I love that about it. But it was an intentional weird. It wasn't just weird for the sake of being weird. It felt very artistically sound, I guess is what I would phrase it as. And it was surprisingly funny too. Mark Ruffalo was my favorite. He stole the show for me. The beginning was a little bit slow, and I think the whole thing was too long. I like some of the themes, the deeper themes that they were touching on. I like the journey. But yeah, it was just such a fun, refreshing, unique film. I don't know. It was really cool to watch. Next is Mario. What's it even called? Super Mario movie? I don't know what the official name is, but that was mid. And I'm going to put it under Dungeons and Dragons. Again, that was the one that it got such good reviews. Everyone was freaking out. Well, when the trailer came out for it, everyone was saying it looked bad. So then when it actually came out, maybe people were surprised that it was better than they expected. But I mean, to me, it was so average. There was nothing that stood out to me at all. It was basically just a movie of the world. There wasn't really like an interesting story attached to it. It was so bland. I don't think it was even funny, really. At least with kids' movies like this, they can still make them pretty funny. Like something like Minions, it usually has some jokes in there, but this one was just so average. It's the very low end of mid for me. The cast, I have mixed feelings about it, as does most people. At least when the voice actors were announced, people weren't too happy about them. So yeah, there were some weird choices in there for me. So this one is just the absolute bottom of mid. Next is Wonka. That one is going here. Changed my life. Oh no, the very, very top of Changed My Life. It was so good. I'm a huge Willy Wonka fan, so anything Willy Wonka I'm gonna watch. Anything with Timothée Chalamet I'm gonna watch. I have a whole series where I've watched all of his movies, so go check that out if you're interested. I'm gonna talk about some of those movies also later on, but so as a Willy Wonka fan I'm gonna watch, as a Timothée Chalamet fan I'm gonna watch, as a musical fan I'm gonna watch. But just everything about this was so good. The Wonka lore fit in so well. The music was good. Timothy's performance was so good. The rest of the cast was so good as well. It was just so fun and cute, and it was so ridiculous too. I love the villains. It was just so over the top in the best way. Okay, next is Wham. This is a documentary on Netflix. I'm gonna put that one above Nyad in the Yes Please category. This one was really good. It was a very straightforward documentary just about the band's creation and their music while they were together, which was only for a very short amount of time, maybe 4 years. So it's a very straightforward story just about the band, not really getting into their personal lives or what happened after the band. But I think it had a cute message. I loved all the old videos and clips and music clips and history. And I'm not even like a huge Wham fan. I just thought it looked really interesting. It definitely interested me to listen to their music more. Next is Bama Rush. This was, well, let me put it somewhere first. It's definitely in mid for me. Maybe, probably at the bottom end of mid. It was very, no, I'm not mad at it, so maybe above Mario. This was a documentary that came out on HBO or Max, whatever we're calling it now, about people rushing for sororities in college. And this is one that people were really mad at also, and I don't really get the frustration. I'm not as mad at it as other people were. It definitely didn't dive as much into some of the controversial topics that I would have wanted it to, and that's why it's mid for me. But I mean, sometimes that's the way things go with documentaries. Unless you want them to fake everything, sometimes you don't get the result you want. So I don't know. So I mean, it was fine. It was pretty forgettable though. Next is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I think is what the new one is called. This one's definitely going in Yes Please. I'll probably put it at the top. I really like this series. I really like the art style. It's so unique and interesting. Just every single frame and every scene is so intricate and just creative. My problem with this movie specifically, though, was it felt like half of a movie. Like if you've seen it and you know how it ends, it doesn't end in a good place for me. So that's kind of my main complaint with it. But overall, I do think it's really good. Next is Oppenheimer. This one, I think I'll put it at the bottom of Yes Please. I did Barbenheimer. I watched both of them. We watched Oppenheimer first, and then we watched Barbie second in the same day in the theater. And I don't know. I wanted to like this one a lot. I just think it had a lot of problems. It was way too long. It was way too confusing as someone who doesn't have a good grasp on that whole crisis. I don't really know much about it, honestly, so it was very confusing to follow from that perspective. But there were a lot of other really good things about it. The cast is really good. The music is really good too. Loved the music. And this was one of the ones that had kind of these profound moments that did affect me. And that does give me a very good memory looking back on it, but I just can't overlook all the flaws I just can't overlook how unrefined the story is. There's just a lot of stuff they could have cut, things they could have made more clear. Yeah, so that's where that one goes for me. Next is Barbie. I'll put that one also in Yes Please at the bottom, below Oppenheimer. This one again was also really disappointing. I mean, both of these, Oppenheimer and Barbie, were really hyped up and everyone loves them, and I don't know, I just don't really get the hype with them as much. I thought they were both fine. Kind of well done, but not, and they're memorable too. There were also just some more technical issues I had with them. So getting back to Barbie specifically, the cast, I love the cast. Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, love them. I loved kind of some of the sets and the costumes in this, but the story is kind of where it went out of whack a little bit for me. I do love the messages in this one, but I feel like it gets messy. It doesn't feel focused. It feels like it wants to cover too many things at once. I love that it has some musical elements to it. Anything that, you know, it's kind of verging into that musical category, which I like. So yeah, it was a little bit disappointing, but still slightly better than average. Next is Talk to Me. This one is going and changed my life. I'll probably put it up there. This one is really good. It's an A24 horror movie. I just thought the story was so interesting. It was like the perfect amount of time. It didn't feel too long. The performances were really good. The story really emotionally affected me. And I thought it was kind of a unique take on a horror movie. There aren't very many that I've seen that do things like that. So yeah, I really liked that one. That one took me by surprise. Next is Infinity Pool. I'm going to put that above Megan, but in mid. That one is pretty forgettable, honestly. I don't really remember too much about it. I love the cast. I love Mia Goth, Alexander Skarsgård. I mean, Mia is a horror icon at this point, so I was very excited for this one. But it was kind of long, I think. The concept was interesting, and I like the themes that it's kind of getting at, but I think the way that they tried to accomplish it was a little bit boring or repetitive. I don't think it was too scary either. I was expecting it to be a lot scarier than it was, but it was okay. Actually, I'm going to put it above May December, which isn't much of an improvement, but it's, you know, it's the top end of mid, maybe pushing a little bit into the next category. Next is The Little Mermaid, the new one, the remake. And this one I'll put here in Yes Please. This one, it was fun. It had some issues for sure, some weird acting performances, or just kind of some blandness. But I liked Halle Bailey. I liked the way it looked. I liked some of the new additions, like the new songs. I really liked the costumes. I liked I liked kind of the beachy vibes on the on-land part. Melissa McCarthy was really good also. I loved how campy she was. Nothing too special though. It's another Disney remake, so. But I think that's it for 2023 releases. So now I'm going to get into movies I watched in 2023, but that came out earlier than 2023. So Tar, for example, came out 2022. So Tar is the next one on here. This one I'm going to put in Yes Please. I'll put it right there, in between Elemental and Hunger Games. I didn't love it as much as I thought I would based on the trailer. It looked so cool. I don't know, visually it looked so cool, but I think the story just felt kind of long. Some of the dialogue and scenes were pretty long, but overall it was pretty good. It felt very artistic and well put together, well crafted. Love Cate Blanchett. Loved some of the music in it. Next is 1 and 2. This is one I watched for my Timothée Chalamet video. This one I'll put in Yes Please above Oppenheimer. This one also I think had some issues with the story. It was a little bit simple. It felt a little bit long or boring at times, but it did have that emotional pull to it that I really liked. I like the cast in this one as well, obviously. But yeah, so if you want more of my thoughts on that one, go watch the Timothée Chalamet video. Next is Funny Girl. This one I will put... I'll put it... here. Somehow I've never seen this one, or I've at least never seen it in full before. This is the movie with Barbra Streisand. But I thought it was pretty good. I think it was a little bit slow, but it's pretty iconic. I love musicals. I love 60s musicals specifically. I honestly don't remember too much about it. I love Barbra Streisand. I like the music. So it was overall a pretty good time. Next is Avatar: The Way of Water. This one, mid. I don't know if I should do... I almost want to put it in Breathes a Sigh of Disgust. I'm going to put it in that category because it was so average. They didn't really do anything to build on the first movie. I mean, the first movie is going to come up here because I had to rewatch that before I watched this one, but it doesn't do anything to build upon the first movie. It just repeats everything, but with better visuals, and that's all that the first one had to offer too. So this was just completely pointless to me. I hate it. I don't like this series at all. Top Gun Maverick. This one was mid. It's fine. I'll put it with Dungeons and Dragons. Again, it's not really my genre that I usually go for, but it was fine. It was whatever. I don't really think about this. It wasn't as good, in my opinion, it wasn't as good as everyone else was claiming that it was, but whatever. Next is Loving Leah, which is another movie I watched for Timothée Chalamet. That one I'm going to put in Breathes a Sigh of Disgust. This one was a Hallmark movie or a Lifetime movie. So, I mean, it's not really on a fair playing field as everything else. So since it's a TV movie, it's obviously not going to stand up in any category, the way it looks, the costumes, the people, the acting, anything. It was very whatever to me. It felt like a Hallmark movie, and that's all I need to say about it, really. Next is Triangle of Sadness. This one I'll put at the top of Yes Please. I really like that one. That was one of the few ones that I watched twice in one year. I do think it's a little bit too long, but I think it's funny. I like the performances. I like the way that the story goes, the different phases and journeys. I like some of the messages that it talks about. This is one that I wanted to make a video on. It never ended up happening, but maybe I'll go back to it. at one point, but it's a really interesting movie. Not quite as good as I thought it would be. That this was on a lot of people's best movies of 2022 list, but I didn't think it was that good, but it was pretty good. Next is The Terminator. I think this is the first one. I'll put it in yes please, but at the bottom. It's somehow I've never seen this before, but I love 80s movies. So I did like it. I had a fun time. I like the lore about it. But honestly, it's maybe not too memorable for me, but overall it was pretty good. Next is Fire of Love. This I'm putting in Changed My Life. Probably here, near the top. This was a documentary about, I think they're called volcanologists, like volcano. I think they study volcanoes, or maybe they just take pictures of volcanoes. I don't really remember, which maybe isn't good that I don't remember that, but it just had the most stunning visuals that I've seen in a documentary. I mean, you can tell by the picture, it was just, these shots were so cool, but not just the shots themselves, but also the way that the documentary is put together, the visuals that they use, and the creativeness of it is just, it's so good. And the story is really interesting too, so I would highly, highly recommend that one. Next is Top Gun, the original one. This one is going in Delete My Memory. I should rearrange these a little bit. I think Bo is better than The Killer, and Top Gun is probably better than The Killer. But Top Gun is just, it was so boring. I don't know if I can really describe why I hate it so much, but it was just, people have hyped this movie up for so long, and it was so bad to me. I don't know. I'm not interested in planes flying. The character was not interesting. He was not someone that I could root for at all, but it was trying to gaslight me into thinking that he was a good guy. So yeah, I didn't like it. I don't like the romance. I didn't like anything about it. Seaspiracy. This is a documentary on Netflix. This one's gonna go on the bottom end of mid. It was very average. This is another one that a lot of people talked about, but to me, there was just a lot of gaps, I think, in the story. A lot of things that didn't make sense, or things that they would say, but they wouldn't justify, or they wouldn't talk about where they got that information from. So, I don't know. I didn't like it very much. Next is The Menu. This one I'm going to put in yes, please. I'll put it ahead of Hunger Games in the yes, please category. This one was good. Not as good as I was hoping it would be. Again, it's a really good cast. Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, Ralph Fiennes. Love the cast. I thought there were some funny moments. I loved the special food shots, but it wasn't like as unique or special as I was hoping it would be. So it was good though. It was memorable. Next is Eyes Wide Shut, which is a Kubrick, I think his last film, with Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. I'm gonna put that in mid, maybe below Top Gun Maverick. I don't know, I didn't get it at all. It was too slow for sure, but it was kind of one of those ones that felt too pretentious, where I didn't really get what the point was. It also felt like it was trying to be weird, but it wasn't that weird to me, which apparently it was pretty groundbreaking for the time, but at least looking back on it now, I don't know, it didn't feel like it doesn't feel that weird. It was still okay, just not too memorable for me. I need to kind of speed it up because I am taking so long and I'm not even halfway through, so Okay, so next is Terminator 2. That one's going in breeds a sigh of disgust. I'll put it at the top though. This is one that's really interesting because everyone says that Terminator 2 is better than Terminator 1, and I don't understand that at all. This is another sequel where it's just rehashing the original. So what's the point? I don't understand. Next is This Place Rules, which is a documentary on HBO Max. This one I'll put in mid. I'll put it at the bottom of mid. It is the same thing as Channel 5 videos are on YouTube, but I don't know, it didn't feel like anything particularly interesting compared to the videos that it needed to be a documentary. And obviously with all the other stuff happening, it kind of ruined it a little bit, but I don't know, it was very meh. I always forget that I even watched that last year. Next is Viva Las Vegas. I'm also going to put that in mid, maybe above Dungeons and Dragons. It was a musical with Elvis and Ann-Margret. I love Elvis as a performer. I love his voice and his acting and performances. Love Ann-Margret too, so this is a really good cast for me. But the story was very boring. The songs didn't stand out at all, really. There was just a few that I went back to and listened to. This isn't really a musical that I see myself ever going back and rewatching. Next is Glass Onion. That one I'm also gonna put in. I'll put it next to Barbie because it's kind of the same thing where I liked it, but it didn't really have that special something for me. The story was also just really confusing for me too. Yeah, I don't really have much to say. The first one was way. Actually, for that reason, that makes me want to put it in mid. I'll put it at the top though. Knives Out was just so good. So good. And Glass Onion didn't really compare to that at all. So that's why I'm going to put it in mid. Next is Green Room. That one I'll put at the top of Yes Please. This is another A24 horror movie. It felt so real. I don't know, it felt like it could actually happen. And for that reason, it really got to me. It was scary, even though it's not too gory. But yeah, I like the concept. I liked how everything progresses. Yeah, that one was surprising. I liked that one a lot. Next is Banshees of Inisherin. I'm not sure how to say that. That one I'll put below Triangle of Sadness. And Yes Please. That one was good. The performances in it were really good, I thought. I really liked the setting, the vibes of this small island community. The story is interesting, but it's also kind of verging on what is happening. And I still don't fully understand what the point of it is. But it was a fun ride. I liked the characters. It was funny at times also. Next is Men, Women, and Children. This one I'll put in Yes Please. I'll put it after Naiad. This was another one that I watched for the Timothée Chalamet series. This one, it's very, I don't want to say Oscar bait, but it's very bland. It feels like a movie that old people would like. I don't really know how to explain it other than that, but I did like it a lot, and it did kind of emotionally affect me a little bit. I liked some of the themes and concepts that it talked about. It has a really good cast as well, but it did have some kind of cringy moments, I guess, so it definitely wasn't perfect, and it was a little bit bland and boring, so. Okay, next is Interstellar. That one I'll put at the top of Yes Please. I really liked the beginning. It wasn't exactly what I expected it to be. It was kind of more apocalyptic than I expected it to be, which I liked. I liked what they did with it, and the music again was really good. The visuals were cool, the performances were really good, but I think it was a little bit long, but also it goes off the deep end a little bit for me towards the end. So, and it didn't really emotionally affect me at all, but it was a really cool movie. Next is Worst Friends. That one is bottom of the bottom. That I don't think there's anything that could compare to how bad that one is. That one is another movie that I watched for the Timothée Chalamet video. It's a very college humor, YouTube person type of movie. It's kind of not really fair to compare it to everything else because it's more of like a homemade film student, college student kind of thing. But yeah, it's really bad. The humor didn't age well. It looked bad. The performances were bad. There wasn't really anything redeeming about it for me. Next is White Noise. That one I'm gonna put after Triangle of Sadness. This one this one again, I think it has its problems, but it was interesting. I liked the cast. The story was all over the place in a good way. Like, I didn't know where it was going to go next. I liked some of the themes that it talked about, and this is another one that I did a full video on also. I liked the cast. I liked the aesthetic of it. It has a musical number in it, which I love. Next is Pretty Woman, which surprisingly I've never seen before. That one was pretty mid for me though. I think I'll put it next to Viva Las Vegas in mid. It was just very average. I didn't really care about anyone. I didn't care about the characters. I didn't care about the relationship. But I also didn't hate it. I didn't hate my time watching it. Okay, next is Paradise Lost. I watched all of them, so I might as well put them all right next to each other. So the first one is Paradise Lost. This is a documentary about, I'm totally blanking on the case name of this. I think it might be West Memphis 3. But so Paradise Lost, this is the first one, and this was on HBO. I think it came out in the 90s. At least for me, it's kind of one of the most hyped documentaries that I've heard of, so I was really interested in watching it. Didn't quite live up to that hype for me, but I'm gonna put it in yes please. I'll put it under the menu. It was good. I think it was obviously really crucial in the case in getting justice for these people, and the first one was really good. I did like it a lot. The second one, bad. That was bad. Yeah, I just didn't like the second one at all. I can see why they did it because it was important to keep the story alive for helping these people. But as a viewer, it felt like rehashing a lot of stuff. It didn't feel like any substantial updates. So yeah, that one was not very good. And then the third one was a little bit better, but I'm going to put it in mid. Next is Stand By Me, which also surprisingly I've never seen before. This one I'm going to put it next to Pretty Woman also, in mid. It was just, I don't know, it was not as good as I thought it would be. It was very long. I usually love these kinds of childhood. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put it a little bit higher because there were some moments, I'll put it in there. There were some moments that stood out to me emotionally, some profound moments that I really liked, but just overall, I think it was really long, boring. It's basically like It, but without the clowns. So it's just the boys being boys and then not really doing anything else. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it very much. Next is Love the Coopers. This one is, I'll put in Breathes a Sigh of Disgust. I'll put it in there. This is another one that I watched for the Timothée Chalamet video. It's a Christmas movie with a whole bunch of famous people that I like, and it wasn't very well put together. The story was all over the place. There were a few moments that touched the heartstrings a little bit, but most of it was just annoying and boring. Yeah, I just didn't like it at all. Next is Scream 2. That one I'll put After Missing. It was fine. It wasn't memorable. The first one is one of the best horror movies of all time, so kind of similar to Glass Onion. It's like, just compared to the first one, it doesn't measure up at all, so it's kind of hard to follow that up. But it was still pretty good for a sequel, like a horror sequel specifically. Next is Annihilation. This one I'm going to put in Breathes a Sigh of Disgust. I'll put it after or before Terminator, because Terminator 2 and Avatar 2, like, those are ones that just feel completely pointless. They're redoing the sequel, so Annihilation, it's at least telling a new story, but it felt kind of all over the place, and I don't really know why things happened the certain way that they did, and it was kind of boring, and I don't know, yeah, the decisions that people were making it was hard to root for them, and it wasn't the best. Next is Rainy Day in New York. This one I'll put above Scream 2 in mid. This is another one I watched for the Timothée Chalamet series. So this one is interesting. It's very confusing to me. It was hard to get into the tone, and like it feels very specific. I don't know. It feels very artificial, but on purpose. And it took a while to kind of understand what they were going for. But by the end, I was kind of buying into it. But it still felt a little bit too pretentious that I wasn't really into. So, and visually, there were some cool moments as well. Timothy's performance was interesting, but especially Elle Fanning, her performance, or at least just her character, was the standout for me. Next is Beautiful Boy. This is another one that I watched for Timothée Chalamet series. That one I'll put at the top of mid. No, I'll put it in Yes Please, but I'll put it above 1 and 2. It was, I don't know, I mean, it emotionally affected me a little bit. I was getting nervous. I felt for the characters. It also looked pretty at times. I liked the set. I liked the performances. I mean, that's one of the standouts for this one. This is one where Timothée Chalamet is just acting his heart out. But I don't know if the story was saying anything particularly new or exciting. So, I don't know, it's kind of forgettable in that sense, but it was okay. Next is GBF. This one is just kind of a dumb, I don't know if it was straight to video or what it was, but it's kind of just a comedy. And it's kind of interesting as a time capsule, as someone who was really into MTV in the 2010s. There's a lot of MTV people in there. Like, there's actors in there from Awkward, there's people in there from RJ Berger, I think was what it was called. So it's kind of interesting just as a time capsule of that cast that was prevalent in that time period, but also kind of the humor, and it's kind of nostalgic in that way. But I'll put it at the bottom-ish of mid, maybe before Super Mario Brothers. It was okay, it was funny, it was cute, it had its moments, but it wasn't too memorable for me. Next is The King. This one I'm going to put in Changed My Life, I think, at the bottom. This is another one that I watched for the Timothée Chalamet series. It had those emotional, profound moments that I really liked. I really liked the themes that it touched on. Timothy's performance is really good in it. Other than the accent wasn't the best, honestly, but I could overlook that. But yeah, I surprisingly really liked this one. Okay, next is Terrifier. That is, I'll put it in mid. Maybe before Super Mario. It is a horror movie. It's not like the best quality horror movie, but it's kind of the goriest, nastiest horror movie I've seen, so I kind of have to give it props from that standpoint, but that's pretty much all it has going for it. I don't Clowns don't really affect me, and I don't think that this clown specifically is particularly interesting. And the story is bad, the acting's bad, but the gore and the deaths are interesting and creative. So if you're into that, you've definitely heard of Terrifier if you're into that stuff, but there wasn't really much else of quality happening. Next is Miss Stevens. That one I'm going to put in mid. I'll put it in the middle of mid. This is another one I watched for the Timothée Chalamet series. It was just very slice of life, which isn't my favorite. It's just, one day in the life of this teacher going on a field trip with her students, and it was just, I don't know, it was boring. There was good Timothy performances in it, but the story did not stand out to me in any way. Love some of the other cast in it, though. Lily Rabe, Lily Reinhart, but it's still, I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. Next is Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. This one, I'll put at the top end of mid. This one is one I don't hear anyone talk about ever. I think it's really cute. I think it's not as funny as you would expect something with Kristen Wiig to be, but it had its moments and it was a cute story, but it is probably one that's a little bit more forgettable for me. Next is Class Action Park. This is a documentary. I'll probably put it in the mid category, maybe before Scream 2. It's about Action Park, which had a lot of issues, a lot of safety issues. So it was interesting hearing all the stories and how it came to be, or the issues with these rides and how the staff would operate them back in the day. But so it's interesting just kind of hearing, I guess, the history of the park. Next is, I don't know if it's The Circle or just Circle. And I don't know if it's specifically a Netflix movie or if it's just on Netflix, but it's bad. I think I'm gonna put it above Worst Friends. Paradise Lost I'll move a little bit up. I don't know, the killer in that one are pretty bad. I don't know. The Circle, or Circle, I'm not sure if there's a it just feels so low budget. It feels so boring. It feels so drawn out. The acting is terrible. The dialogue is terrible. It's not scary. It doesn't really make sense. I hated it. It was really bad. Next is The Adderall Diaries. This one, I'll put it there. I'll put it at the bottom of Breeds a Sigh of Disgust. This is another one I watched for the Timothée Chalamet series. It was just, there was a cast I really liked, but it was, I don't know, it just didn't feel like it had anything creative or new to say. Or it did, but it was at the very end, like the last 5 minutes, it shows its cards, and, the rest of the hour and a half, you're just left thinking, what's the point? It felt like it was glamorizing things that was completely the antithesis to the themes. I don't know, it was just not good. I didn't like the style of it either. There were some good performances in it, though. Ed Harris specifically comes to mind. The Lobster is next. That one I'm going to put up here. Probably next to Triangle of Sadness in the Yes Please category. That one, it's another A24. I don't know if you'd call it horror. It's Yorgos Lanthimos, Colin Farrell, Olivia Colman's in it too, Rachel Weisz. So there's a good cast. I just really like the story. I think it's really interesting and unique. It goes in a lot of different places. It has something to say. I loved the aesthetics of it too. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put it at the top end of this. It didn't really emotionally affect me, but it just feels so well done. The performances are good. Has its funny moments. It has its deep themes that it touches on. It didn't ever feel boring to me. It feels like there's depth there. It feels like there's more to unpack without being annoying to watch the first time. So yeah, I really liked that one. Next is Elvis. That one I'm gonna put in Breathes a Sigh of Disgust. I'll put it in there. This was a miss as far as Baz Luhrmann goes. His films just either, they feel very flashy and empty at times. Like all that there is just pretty pictures, pretty visuals, lights, costumes going on without much substance. And that's what this one felt like to me. I really don't understand why everyone went crazy for it. I don't know, I didn't feel like I learned too much about Elvis, about his story. It focused way too much on the manager, who I don't care about at all. And Tom Hanks was just, I mean, I love him, but it was just ridiculous. It was a ridiculous performance. I don't know if that's how the guy actually talked, but it was so embarrassing. I mean, I did like the visuals though. It did look good, but it can't be a movie of just pretty pictures that goes on for 2.5 hours or however long it was. So that one was a big disappointment. Okay, Terrifier 2 is next. This one, I don't know. This one I think also has to go in Breathes a Sigh of Disgust. I'll put it below Avatar. I think it treads some of the same territory as the first one. It does try a little bit harder in terms of the story and acting and stuff like that, but it still just wasn't good to me. And in this case, it was just way too long, way too long. Again, the only thing it really offers is the gore, which is some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen and that I never want to see again. And it's all done, or at least most of it's done practically, which is cool. That's kind of rare, I feel like. But yeah, it was not good. It wasn't fun. Okay, next is Whiplash. That one I'm going to put in mid somewhere. I'm going to put it in, maybe near the top of mid. I'll put it at the top of mid. It didn't stand up at all to the hype. This is like everyone's favorite movie well, it's Film Bros' favorite movie, but I don't know, I don't get it. The performances were good. I liked Miles Teller, but it didn't really stand out to me. I don't know, it didn't stand out visually, really. The story wasn't that interesting. It didn't really emotionally affect me either. I don't know, it was just very meh, very forgettable. Next is Hot Summer Nights. This one I'll put in mid somewhere. Probably next to Miss Stevens, a little bit ahead of it. This is another one I watched for Timothée Chalamet. It's A24, which I love. This one I was interested in the characters, at least some of the characters. The story was interesting. I forget if it's in the 80s or 90s, but I love something that's kind of a throwback to that, but I don't know, just something about it just didn't do it for me. The character development was not there. The tone was kind of weird. I liked the beginning far more than it got pretty dark at the end, which I didn't really like. I don't know, it was just very meh. Next is Hostiles. That one I think I'll put at the bottom of Yes Please. This is another one I watched for Timothée Chalamet's filmography. This one I was kind of torn about because this one it took me a while to kind of unpack my feelings about it. It did emotionally affect me. It was really hard to watch at times. The performances are really good. The music's really good. Actually, you know what? For those reasons, I should put it up higher. I think it has grown on me over time. I think it's a little bit long. It does feel like Oscar bait a little bit, but it's very creative too with the way it kind of subverts the genre. Yeah, that one's definitely grown on me. as time has gone on. Next is Rebel Without a Cause. This one is... that one's delete from my memory. I don't understand. I don't understand why this movie has such a good reputation. I mean, James Dean was fine. I like Natalie Wood also, but this story was just... it was so boring. I didn't really get the point. I don't know, I just didn't like it at all. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Next is Goodnight Mommy. This one is Breeze's, definitely in this row. Not sure where, probably the bottom. I don't know if it's a Prime exclusive, but I mean, first of all, I meant to watch the original, but I accidentally watched the remake. I didn't know there was a remake. I thought I was watching the original, but I was watching the American remake, so don't do that. It did have Naomi Watts in it, which I liked, but I don't know. It was just so repetitive, annoying to watch. It wasn't really scary. I did like some of the stuff at the end, but I feel like it was definitely probably much better done in the original. I need to go and watch the original, even though it's kind of been spoiled for me, but this one was just so poorly done. Next is Dracula, the original movie. This one's bad. It's so bad. I'll put it there. This is another one where it's like, I mean, I know it was inventive for the time or whatever, but it just does not hold up at all. It was so boring. I didn't learn really much about the lore. It didn't feel like I didn't know who all the characters were, what was happening. I was so bored. It wasn't scary, which, I mean, usually the old movies don't really hold up as far as scare factor, but I don't know, this one was bad. It was so bad. Next is Shiva Baby. That one I'm gonna put in Yes Please. Let's see, where in Yes Please though? I'll put it next to Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This one I thought was really funny. I loved the way they portrayed anxiety and that awkward relationship with your parents or your family friends. It did get a little bit repetitive towards the end, but I loved just seeing the awkward situations she got herself in, and I don't know, I just love her personality of her character, and that's kind of just how she is in a lot of the roles she plays, but Rachel Sennett, but I don't know, it was fun. It was a good time. Next is Ma. That one I'm gonna put in Yes Please. This one was surprisingly good. I mean, it's not really trying to be anything profound, but I mean, it's a fun horror movie, I think. That one I'm gonna put maybe next to Little Mermaid. I just remember I watched Ma on either the same day as Rebel Without a Cause, or I watched it maybe the day after, and I just always associate them with each other because I don't know, it's just funny that I liked Ma so much better than Rebel Without a Cause. And I like old movies too, by the way. It's not like I'm just hating on these ones because they're old. I don't know, I could not get into them. But anyway, Ma, it was a fun little horror movie, I thought. Next is Strange World, which is a Disney movie that came out in 2022, I think, but it was very mid, very forgettable to me. I'm gonna put it maybe here. I don't really have anything bad to say about it, really. It was just so meh. I don't know, I was bored while watching it. I just wanted it to be over. I mean, the animation style at this point is so played out, but I don't know, the story just didn't really interest me. Next is Killing of a Sacred Deer. That one's definitely going at least in Yes Please. I don't think I liked it as much as The Lobster, and this one didn't really emotionally affect me. Maybe I'll put it below Hostiles. This is another Yorgos Lanthimos movie with Nicole Kidman, Colin Farrell, Barry Keoghan. It was interesting. I think it was a little bit too long. I did another dedicated video to this, kind of unpacking some of the themes that struck me about it. But it was interesting. It wasn't as creepy as I thought it would be. This one kind of has a reputation, I feel like, but I think it's visually interesting as well. The performances are really good also, so yeah, I did like that one a lot. Next is Krampus. This is the Christmas movie. This one is very meh. It's like the bottom of mid. I can't believe it came out. It feels like that one just came out, but apparently it came out in like 2015, something like that. But this one was, I don't know, it was very it had some funny moments, but not really. The characters weren't interesting. Some of the monsters were interesting. Like, it's interesting being a Christmas horror movie, because you have, the elves and the gingerbread men, and like that stuff is interesting, but overall it just, I don't know, it was kind of boring. The characters made dumb decisions. I liked the ending though, but that's about all I have to say. Next is Minari. That one I'm gonna put in yes please. I'll put it above Nyad, I think. This one, it's pretty hyped for me. I've been looking forward to watching that one for a while, but it was a little bit slow for me. I did like the performances and the story, but it could have, I think, maybe cut a little bit of time. And it wasn't, I don't know, it just wasn't as good as I thought it would be. It didn't super emotionally hit me in any way. Next is Starship Troopers. That one, I really liked this one. I'm gonna put it up here. And yes, please. That one, I don't know, it was just so campy, and I loved the world and the world building, and the performances were really good. It was funny too, on purpose too. I don't know what everyone was thinking back in the 90s when this bombed. But yeah, it was fun. I liked some of the commentary too, some of the deeper themes that it was touching on, so yeah, I really liked that one. Next is Spiral. I'm gonna put that in mid at the very bottom. It was just, I don't know, it wasn't the best. I mean, it is the best Saw movie since Saw 2, in my opinion, but I don't know, it wasn't as gory as the other ones, which I actually kind of appreciated, because I got to see some of the stories and classic Saw twists without kind of being nervous the whole time. But some people hate that about it, obviously, but I kind of liked that. The story could use more work though, I think, as usual with Saw. The Saw movies are kind of just visually ugly usually to me, in my opinion. But okay, next is Aftersun. This one I'm gonna put in yes please, but I'll put it maybe ahead of Minari, because it wasn't, no, I think Minari was better. I think Nyad was even better. I don't know, I didn't love this one as much as everyone else seems to. I think it was just way too long. It was definitely slow and boring a little bit for my taste. I liked their relationship, I liked some of the visuals, I liked some of the shots too, were really creative and cool, but it was also a little bit veering on the pretentious side of things, where it's like I don't fully understand what the deeper meaning is here, so, and I don't know if I'm just dumb because it seems like everyone else seems to have gotten it, but I don't know, it was okay for me. Next is Fear Street. I think this is Fear Street 2. It was very mid, but it wasn't bad, so I'll put it maybe there. I like this is the one that was the camp, kind of the Friday the 13th vibes, the summer camp vibes, so I like that, but I don't know, it didn't feel like it was really saying anything particularly new. Next is Planet of the Apes, the original. That one is somewhere in Yes Please. I'll put that one maybe above Funny Girl. I think this one was also a little bit slow, but I did like it. I liked some of the deeper themes that it was touching on. The prosthetics and like the makeup and stuff was really cool. I think it stands up to time a lot. I don't think it was as shocking as I expected it to be. But I think it was, well put together. Okay, next is Invisible Man. That one I'm going to put in Yes Please. I'll put it maybe after Minari. This one, actually, I've been watching a lot of the old monster movies, and this one was one of the better ones. I think the story was still really interesting. The visuals or the special effects are also really interesting. I'm still like, I have no idea how they did some of this stuff, but yeah, mostly just the story was interesting and the characters were interesting. So that one I thought still held up pretty well. Next is Birdman. This one is going in delete from my memory also. I'm just maybe there. This is another one where I don't understand the hype about it at all. This one, again, it feels too pretentious. Like, I have no idea what the point of it was, and it would have these long, monologues, and where I zone out because I don't know it loses me. It's not interesting. The camera movements were interesting, definitely taking a big swing. They were doing things that were very hard to accomplish, and I definitely acknowledge that, but it still just doesn't make up for the script and just being boring. Next is A Trip to the Moon. This one, I'll put in Sigh of Disgust. Maybe the top end. This is one that's really hard because, again, it was something that was very important at the time that it was made, but so it's kind of hard to go back and rate that with today's state of mind, because just from today's state of mind, it just doesn't hold up to me at all. It's just weird, boring. There's no dialogue, so it's harder to know what's going on. So I don't know, it's just very meh, but boring. So I acknowledge that it was important at the time and whatever, but it's not fun to go back and watch now. Next is Trespass Against Us. This is an A24 movie with Michael Fassbender. I feel like this is one that people don't talk about a lot, but this was, I think it's in Yes Please for me, but the low end. It's definitely one of the more forgettable ones. Yeah, I don't really remember much about it. The characters were interesting, but that's kind of about it. It was pretty slow. Next is House on Haunted Hill. That one's definitely going in Yes Please. Maybe towards the top or the middle. Maybe the middle. Above Planet of the Apes. This one was surprisingly still scary, which is very rare for a movie from the 50s to still be scary. I don't know if that's ever really happened for me, but I thought it was still scary. I thought the story was really interesting. I was along for the ride, and it's short too. It's an easy watch, so I liked that one. Next is Swiss Army Man. That one I'm gonna put maybe before Hostiles. This is another, I think it's A24 by the Daniels, but with Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano, and it's so weird. It's such a weird story. You can see kind of the precursors to Everything Everywhere All at Once in there with the editing style and some of the stuff that they do. But the humor is just so weird, but at the same time it was still touching, and I loved their relationship, and kind of the way that their relationship changes each other. So yeah, this one was fun. Next is Lost in Translation. This is one that, and it's probably towards the end of mid for me. It just, I don't know, I don't see the hype with this one at all. It was mostly just boring. Again, it's kind of like slice of life style, so that's not really my thing that I enjoy, because I'm kind of like, what's the point? I don't get it. So yeah, this one was just very average for me. Next is My Policeman. This one was good. I'm gonna put it in yes please. I think it has some issues, maybe kind of some cliches and stuff like that, but and some of the things that the characters did and said didn't make sense, but this one was one that kind of tugged at the heartstrings as well. It looked pretty at times. The performances were good, I thought. So specifically from Emma Corrin, I really liked her performance, but I don't know, I surprisingly liked this one, even though I think it's a Prime original and Harry Styles is in it, so people are gonna crap on it, but I don't know, I liked it. Next is Fear Street 2. I'm gonna put that next to the other, or this is Fear Street 3. I think I liked 3 a little bit better than 2, so I'll put it above Fear Street 2. This one kind of, it's wrapping up the series, it explains things a little bit more, so I like that. Overall, it was a very meh series. Okay, so I think that is it for all of the new movies I watched. Now we're getting more into rewatches, and I'm running so behind. I'm so over time. So I'm really gonna try to touch on these really quickly. So first is Jennifer's Body. This one I'm gonna put in yes please. I like that one. It doesn't super stand out, but I think it's fun. I think it's a good time capsule. Next is Dick. This one, I really like this one. I'm gonna put it next to Swiss Army Man. I don't know, this one, I never hear people talk about this one. This is one of like those lost media, I feel like, but it's still funny. It still holds up. Next is Avatar, the first one. This one's bad, but I'll put it in the bottom of mid just because it's better than the second one, because at least the second one's just rehashing the first one, so I at least have to give the first one props, I guess. Yeah, there's just, I don't know, there's nothing redeeming about Avatar for me. I don't like it at all. Next is The Hunger Games. I love The Hunger Games. This one is going and changed my life. This one's so good. I'm gonna put it, I'll put it after I'll put it after Talk to Me. It's just so good. It's a classic. Next is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. That one is going in. I really like this one too. I'll put it near the top, probably after Swiss Army Man. It's so funny. I think it's interesting, like the twists and turns it takes as a horror movie. And again, it is a really good time capsule of the time we're in now, I think. So, I don't know. I like that one a lot. Next is The Burbs with Tom Hanks. That one's very average. It is funny though, and I think it still holds up. Maybe put it above May December in mid. The Room. This one's a classic. It's so bad that it's good. So that one's going in. I'll put it at the bottom of yes please though. It's kind of hard to rate. It's not technically good at all, but it is fun to watch for sure. Next is Aquamarine. I mean, this one changed my life. This one is so good. That one probably goes next to, I'm gonna put it next to Wonka. I mean, that one's like one of my favorite movies ever. It's so good. Next is Call Me By Your Name. This is another one that I've seen it before, but I rewatched it for my Timothée Chalamet series. That one's going to change my life. I mean, it's just so good. I'm gonna put it above, in between Fire of Love and Poor Things. It's not perfect. It's a little bit slow, but I just think the story is so beautiful, and it's one of Timothy's best performances. Probably the best performance from him. Next is Jaws. That one I'm going to put in Yes Please. It's good. It's a little bit slow, but it's still interesting, I think, the whole time. So let's see. I'm going to put this after the menu. And then we have Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I mean, that one changed my life. That one is so good. I have to put it above the new Wonka, even though, I mean, they're close, but the old one is the best one. Next is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the 2005 or whatever it is version. This one's pretty good, but doesn't really come close to the other ones at all. So I'm gonna put it maybe there. Next is Bye Bye Birdie. This is, I mean, we're getting into rewatches, so these are like my favorites of all time. Some of these ones, so that one's also gonna go pretty high. Maybe there. It's just the songs are so good. Again, Anne-Margaret, Dick Van Dyke. That one's just a classic. It's so good. Next is Spy Kids. This one is also really good. I'm gonna put it in Yes Please, maybe near the top, around here. It's just so fun and creative. The sets are so cool. The story, it's funny. The performances are good. Okay, next is 8th Grade. This one is good, but not as good in my opinion as everyone else said it is. I'll put it maybe here. It is very accurate, I feel like, to my life or my friends. I feel like that was how we acted back then, so it's kind of cringy to watch, but that's kind of the point, is reflecting back, which is, I don't know, it's cool that it portrays it so accurately. Next is Freaky Friday. This one is good. I like it. I don't think it holds up as well though, so maybe I'll put it at the bottom of Yes Please. I'll put it above The Room though. Next is Mockingjay. I think this one's part 1. Let's do part 1 first. That one is, all of the Hunger Games are good, but part 1 is better than part 2, so I'm gonna put this maybe before Shiva Baby, I think. Oh, it's right next to Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I'll put 1 before Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and then 2 goes after Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Next is Spirited Away. I mean, this is a perfect movie. It doesn't get any better than this. It's so good. I'll put it after Willy Wonka, though. Next is High School Musical 2. This one, I mean, it's a classic to me, but it definitely does not hold up very good on a rewatch, so I'm actually gonna maybe put it in the top of mid. I was one of the people that liked High School Musical 2 better than the first one, but I don't know, it did not hold up very well on this rewatch. Next is Catching Fire, which is better than Mockingjay, I think, but so I think I'll put it in Changed My Life, but towards the bottom end. Next is X-Men. I think this is Days of Future Past is what this one was. Someone else put this on and made me watch it, and it's just so bad. I'm gonna put it before The Killer. No, after The Killer. Ugh, it's so bad. Next is White Christmas. This one's a classic. I mean, it's so good. I'm gonna put it before Spirited Away, because I'm just gonna be drawn to musicals the most out of everything. Lady Bird, this is another one that I rewatched for Timothée Chalamet video. And this one I also don't really get the hype around, but I do like it overall, so I'm gonna put it in maybe there, right next to Jennifer's Body. And then we have Little Women. This is another one I rewatched for the Timothée Chalamet video. Again, Greta Gerwig, I like her, but I don't exactly see the hype as much as everyone else does. I don't know which one I like better. Little Women, Lady Bird. I don't know, they're both about equal, so I'll put them both there. So that's my final list right there. 120 movies that I watched in 2023. That took quite a while for me to get through. I know most of you probably haven't stuck around, but I didn't do monthly recaps, so I wanted to have a chance to talk about everything that I watched, reflect on everything, see how they rank looking back on them. This year I'll probably start doing monthly recaps. I think that sounds fun. But yeah, this is it. I think I have a pretty good distribution. Most of them are in Yes Please. I feel like I have a pretty good bell curve. Most of them are in these two categories, with just a few in the Changed My Life and then just a few in the really bad ones. So I'm pretty pleased with this distribution, but it leans a little bit more into things that I liked. So I'm glad I had kind of a good year of film watching. So that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. Let me know if you watched any of these movies, what your thoughts were, if you agree or disagree with any of my rankings. I'd love to hear from you. And that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.